Hello, everyone, and welcome back to What's the Word Windsor. I'm your host, Communications Coordinator, Maddie Strassheim. Today, we're talking about something that helps shape nearly everything the town does, from roads and infrastructure to our economy, and that's the Town of Windsor's strategic plan. Joining me today are Mayor Julie Cline and Town Manager Shane Hale. Thank you both for being here today.
Thank you.
Thanks. Are you excited to talk about strategic plan? I know it's just the most fun topic ever.
It is. I'm going to say, compared to many others, yes, this is definitely a great topic.
Lots of fun. So what is the strategic plan? I know it's kind of like a government term that we use here in the town of Windsor and probably other local governments as well. But for somebody who might not fully understand what it is, can you guys just give a rundown of what the strategic plan is?
So I will start. That's fine. So really, the strategic plan is like a guiding document of the way that we want the town to focus. What are our focus areas? What are the most important things that for the citizens that the town board can work to execute and work with staff to be able to accomplish? And the great thing about that is then once you have that goal, then you know the baby steps are the steps you need to make to get to those goals. And when we are able to work with the public and publish it, it just is our overarching document to make sure we know what we need to fix or not fix or be able to do. And so it gives us those accomplishments in that direction. Anything you want to add?
Yeah, I guess the way I like to think of it is the board and staff get really inundated with a lot of things day to day, right? A lot of pressures, a lot of issues of the day. And what the strategic plan does, it gives the mayor and the town board an opportunity to think further ahead of the immediate and really, think 5 years down the road and 10 years down the road. We like to do like the thought exercise of, imagine Windsor in 2055. And it's this perfect community and you love it here and your family's here and all your friends that don't live here wish they did, and now describe Windsor and what does it have and kind of what do we need to do to build that future? So it gets us really far out. And then, like the mayor said, we're able to just kind of take and say, well, this is our huge goal. Here's all the steps we have to take to get there, right? And a lot of times they're not done in 2 years or 5 years. It may be 15 or 20 years of work, but we know we're building a Windsor that everybody still wants to live in when we're all old and gray. So
one thing I think people would be surprised to hear is how much the community has input into the strategic plan. Can you talk about that process and how residents can get involved in how the strategic plan is laid out?
Sure. Yeah. Do you want to? Okay.
No, I'll let you start. You have the mic, sir.
So I would say first, our residents shouldn't be surprised that their input matters in any topic. I know that the mayor and town board staff take community outreach and input really seriously. So I think, if anything, sometimes we feel like we survey our people too much, right? We're like, well, we're going to, restripe our streets. Do you like yellow? And, we let people tell us if they like yellow or not. So when it comes to the strategic plan, we have a couple of key touch points. We have a survey that went live last week, and so that went pushed out through social media. I think people have probably seen that by now. And the second big touch point will be this next Monday at Community Development Center. We'll have a 2-hour event, and it'll have kind of a slide deck going, so it won't be a formal presentation, but it'll have 3 stations. Each one is set up by one of our focus areas, so strategic growth, vital infrastructure, and vibrant and healthy economy. And they'll just have a chance to kind of see what the town board's talked about, the different focus areas that have come out. They'll have opportunities to add things to the plan. They'll have opportunities to say things they like and don't like. And so it's just kind of a really good touch point for them. And then we'll take all that feedback and give it back to the town board and say, this is what the community said. They like these things. They don't like these things. And then in addition to getting that feedback, I think the mayor and most of the town board will be there as well to just kind of hear from the residents.
So you kind of talked a little bit about the 3 focus areas of the strategic plan. Can you go into a little bit more detail about what those 3 focus areas are and how kind of staff contribute to the 3 focus areas?
I can try at least on some of those I was looking at there. One of our focus areas usually is strategic growth, and we want to make sure, again, that we can grow the way that is strategic. No.
Here's the things that are the kind of big ideas.
All right. So of course I got the mic now on this. But, so one of those focus areas is strategic growth. But what this will do is that's going to cover like potential downtown redevelopment, annexation, where are our growth areas, where can we grow into, growth management, making sure that we can do the intergovernmental agreements, which sounds like a big word. That's just making sure that we know what we're doing and Greeley knows what we're doing, Loveland, Timnath, any of the towns that we touch. And those can also expand to ones that we don't touch. And then also potential workforce housing and how are we going to look at those different areas. And I'm going to then pass this off and you can do area number 2.
Okay, great, thank you. So the second area is vital infrastructure. So that covers rec facilities, athletic fields, water supply, and long-term infrastructure capacity. So those are kind of the big ideas in there. And then do you want to do vibrant and healthy economy, or you want me to?
Oh, you got it. I'll let you roll.
And then the final focus area is vibrant and healthy economy. And so that's downtown economic vitality, business-friendly development across Windsor's commercial corridors, revenue diversification, and regional economic partnerships. So those are all the big $12 words.
3 main categories.
Right.
Yeah.
I will expand. So it's not one of the things about our strategic plan is we do revisit it every 2 years. Mm-hmm. And so it's important to us. You don't want to change necessarily those focus areas every 2 years because, I pulled here and I grabbed a strategic plan from 4 years ago. And a lot of the items that were on there, we just finally have accomplished. Government work is really fast. It's not as fast as you would hope. But sometimes it takes a long time to get where you want it to go. So if you continually change your focus areas, you will never achieve what you're set out to do. So in this case, you want to make sure that you have those little baby steps, those little goals to get there, and then potentially in 2, 4, 6 years, you can actually achieve those goals. So I think the focus areas are very important. Now, how we achieve those or what we're going to do between those focus areas can change then every couple of years.
Yeah, and I know that a lot of our staff have input in those 3 focus areas. I remember you guys had like a big meeting a while back where you kind of discussed the strategic plan. How do those meetings work and how do they help shape the strategic plan?
So it all starts with the town board. So we went and locked ourselves away for 2 days to go through and say, what do the board feel important? But it's not just the board. It's the input that we'd received from our constituents. What have we been hearing that they want or they want to see or the direction that the town wants to go? So we spent those 2 days, battled a little bit, and then came up with a little bit of a direction. And then that got turned over to staff, which then I'm going to let Shane go to the rest.
Thanks, Mayor. So the board really sets the agenda when it comes to the goals. So they may say our goal is to diversify revenue. And then that kind of gets turned over to staff to really start putting in some action steps, right? So how do we diversify revenue? Do we look at more commercial corridors? Do we figure out maybe new and different types of uses that go in there? And so it's really another kind of half-day exercise. We don't spend as long as the town board does with the goals, but we spend 4 or 5 hours to just start populating all the action steps to determine this is all the work we can do to achieve that goal. And then we bring that back to the town board and say, well, here are your goals. Here's the action steps we think achieve that goal. Are we on track? And we found like some with our downtown work, a lot of staff's work kind of looked and felt like maybe it was DDA, right? And the mayor called that out immediately. And I thought the same thing, like, is this right? So it's kind of a touch point with the board to say, are we achieving the goal you thought? So it's iterative, it's really a kind of give and take and process. And at the end of the day, this is a town board strategic plan. And, my job and staff's job is just to make sure that we're doing the work that they want accomplished to get their goals done.
Yeah. Basically just like a touch point for staff to be like, yeah, this is a realistic goal. And this isn't what's realistic for the town.
No. The town board can say if it's realistic.
Okay.
I think if we say, if the board says we want this accomplished, and we say, okay, well, here's the $290 million you'll need to accomplish that goal. Mm-hmm. They may say, never mind. We were thinking more 2.9 million. Let's go ahead and size that. But I think we just have to say, here's what we'd have to do to accomplish your goal, and they determine if it's realistic or not.
Okay.
And I think that also goes in with the public input piece. I mean, we're definitely not leaving that out. The board starts, the staff then looks at it, and that's why with this open house, we want to make sure to get the public's input. Because if we've completely, as a board or staff, saw something one way and everyone else sees it a different way, we don't want to go and take those steps or spend that money to do something that is not right for Windsor, right for the residents.
Yeah. So you've mentioned before that the strategic plan is updated every 2 years. Why do we update it every 2 years?
Great question. Well, there's a potential with the way that our board is elected, that we might have new people on that board every 2 years. And so that gives a new board member a chance for an input or make sure another area is seen, that if we also we're doing a wrong direction, kind of like we just discussed, then we can have time to pivot. So it feels like every 2 years is kind of a comfortable one. I think 4 might be too late or too long. 1 is way not enough. So 2 felt just right, just like the little piggy. So it was just, we want to make sure that the 2 was just right. But I think really the main part that when they came out is that potentially you could have different board members every 2 years.
And you guys go on, I think you mentioned like the little retreat, where you kind of get together once a new board might have been reelected or we have an entirely new board. So you guys go up to the mountains and have like a little retreat and kind of discuss what goes on with the strategic plan. Can you give a little bit more insight into what that retreat kind of looks like?
Well, no. No, it's a really good time for the board. First of all, just to kind of, especially if it's a new board, to get to know each other and not have to be guarded, and really understanding where your board or the people you work with. I mean, in even any setting, your friends, your family, or at your office, being able to understand where people came from, what their background was, where they really are passionate about, or the direction they want to go. That is really what that strategic plan time helps do. And you can get together and figure out that maybe you're not so far apart, that a lot of people do have the same goals, and all the goals, and our board is wonderful, by the way, that we all want to work together, and we're all very respectful of each other, and we want to listen. And if we all believe it's a good goal, we're going to try to make sure that we direct staff to get them done.
And where do those goals come from each of the town board members? Like, do they come in listening from the residents and know kind of the goals they want to have? Or is it like something they come in as like a platform sort of?
Great. Another great question. It's a little of both. I would have to say, especially because, at the mayor at large level, you have to kind of look at everything, but each person that represents their own district or their own neighborhood, they really can see then more into those problems in that neighborhood. And so it's a great mix of bringing in what we've heard already from the public, what we hear when we're at the grocery store, or when people flag you down somewhere and ask you questions about why isn't the town doing this, or someone at a neighboring community is doing this, why aren't we doing this, or hey, they're doing it, let's not do that. And that's where all that feedback comes. And it's a really great time, again, at that strategic retreat to just kind of figure out, okay, what's our direction? Where do we think we want to try to get to in the next year? And it's not always on the mountains. We've went to different locations too. So, but it's a great time to just get away and you don't have any of the distractions.
Yeah, it's fun. So a lot of residents might be wondering, how does the strategic plan personally affect me? And how does it benefit me? And how can residents participate in what goes in the town strategic plan? I know we kind of mentioned the survey and the open house that we're going to have soon, but what are some other ways that residents can get involved as well?
All right, I'm going to let you start with this one. I feel like I've dominated.
Well, I think the strategic plan is important to everybody because a lot of our other plans line up behind it, right? So specifically like the budget, capital improvement plan, maybe new programs the town board launches. They typically have an origin in the strategic plan. So really, it really is kind of a good basis of understanding the direction of the town's going to go. So it's hard to say specifically, other than if you read the plan, you're like, oh my God, I can't believe the town is investing in infrastructure. That's a horrible idea. Well, bad news, we are, so decided to pick one, like puppies, right? Puppies are cute, infrastructure is good. I think that's why it's important, and it does impact everybody, because the community that we're going to be in 20 years is going to have roots in this plan, right? And it'll have roots in the previous plan and roots in the next. Other ways to get involved, I think that, doing the survey or showing up at the event are great places to do that. After we get this event feedback, we'll bring it back to the town board. We haven't got that on the calendar yet, but that would be another touch point. And then I think after we've adopted the plan, a resident wouldn't really have an opportunity to change it at that point. It'll be adopted for a couple years, but I think they could always talk to their elected officials and say, I didn't put input in it, but I think this is a horrible idea, and maybe hope that we don't get it done in 2 years and kick it out of the next plan.
I guess that's valid.
Yeah. And then I guess the only other thing I'd say, going back to the mayor's last thing, talking about goals, so people understand, there's a lot of thought exercises and a lot of things the town board does for goal setting, and they'll just have pages and pages of ideas, right? And then they're all given like 5 stickies and say, go and vote for your favorite one, right? And so they go up and they prioritize, and then we just go and count and say, this one had 4 votes, right? So as a majority of the board who likes it, it becomes a goal. If something has 2 votes, sorry, you're in the minority, and so it really is, even at this, it really is kind of a representative democracy-based exercise to where we make sure that the majority of the board supports it before it becomes a goal.
A very collaborative process.
Yes.
How can residents keep up with the progress of the strategic plan? I know they would like to see kind of how we're progressing with our goals, and kind of discuss how the dashboard works a little bit.
Oh, well, I will start with that, but I know that you have the inner workings of the dashboard. So we actually, at our town board meetings, we do receive a copy of the dashboard. So it would be in our packet of information. If you're up there looking around and you're looking at the agendas for the town board, the dashboard's out there, but it's also on our website. So they can look, and it is a very easy, it's colorful. It is, you got your yellows, reds, and greens. We hope to see more greens, and your progression towards those goals. A lot of times you'll see if there's a roadblock to one, there could be those things out there, and it's a good measuring stick that we can keep track of to how we can actually progress and how we're able to get to those goals. Is there anything you wanted to add to that?
No.
All right. So
other than just say we update it weekly, or I'm sorry, not weekly, every month with staff. Has to go through an update even if they haven't made any progress. So the dashboard on the website should always move some. And like you said, Mayor, if we have some kind of disruption or something that's not going right, it shows up as a different color on the report for the board to say, why isn't this happening?
I will say one of the exciting things that we noticed, and I can point back to our strategic plan, like basically in 22, we talked about that we wanted to acquire open space or community buffers. And we were finally able to do that last year, make a huge purchase. But that's where it takes time. It took us 4 years basically to achieve that goal. And we're still not to that goal. I think our goal is over 2,000 acres. Is that two?
It's 1,300 acres.
1320.
1,320 acres, and so
we're slowly getting there.
Yeah, we had a 5-year goal of 300 acres, and we were able to achieve that last year.
So that's one of the things that you can finally see the progression, and that was something the board we noticed too was like, oh, we finally got him. We got a little chick on the mark.
Green.
Yeah, we got a little green.
Just a little bit.
I think it's 1,280. It's a number.
It's a number. It's a big number.
It's a big number. A big number of acres.
Yes.
Of land that we want to acquire. Yeah. All right. And so, Julie, this is a specific question for you, but as mayor, what excites you most about the strategic plan?
I am so excited about it because I love the direction, and I love that the board was able to put it all together, input from staff, input for everyone, And we've now figured out our strategy. I mean, if it's on the plan, we're going to try to do it and try to achieve it. So we have that direction. And I am one of those people. I love lists. I love checking things off a list. These goals are my list. So now we can go back, and when they're like, well, and I'm like, why did we do this? And staff will be like, it's one of your goals. Great, that's a great idea. I'm so glad that we decided to do that. So it's just another checkpoint and a way to check in to make sure you are still going straight and narrow.
Yeah. How about you, Shane? Does the strategic plan really excite you?
Yeah, it does. I think it's great. Like I mentioned in the beginning, it's really easy to be busy, right? And a lot of times people will use that as a metric. I've been really busy. And I think that's the wrong measure. The real measure is productive, right? How productive are you? And the strategic plan in doing that work is productive for the community. Day-to-day things, returning emails, that stuff is just things that happen, but it doesn't really move the community along. So I like a strategic plan. Like the mayor said, you have your elected officials, you have your community, and you have staff input, and you've all worked together for a vision. And so when you're doing that work, you're productive. Right, and every year when I do my review with the town board, I really base it on the strategic plan, and I'm always happy that I'm able to write a lot of things down. Right, we did a lot of work, and it's not just my work; it's the entire organization. But it gives you a good sense of accomplishment.
Yeah. So, as we kind of wrap up here, is there anything else you guys want to say about the strategic plan?
Reach out, like Shane had said earlier, email us, let us know. Is like, oh, I don't know if this was on there. I didn't get a chance to look at everything, but, can you make sure that we have a puppy petting zoo, in the downtown area, and, or something like that? Or we can add that along with, we do have goat yoga, though, through the rec center. So I'm thinking that we could maybe have cuddle time with puppies too. I think might be another one. I don't think we put that as a goal, but if I get a sticky on Monday, I think that's what I might add.
Yeah. So while the survey might be closed, we encourage residents to reach out to town officials and get involved in the next phase of the strategic plan cycle. Now we're going to hear from residents who participated in the strategic plan open house and kind of hear what they have to say.
Thank you, Maddie, Mayor Cline, and Shane for all of that awesome information. We're ending our podcast here at the Windsor Community Development Center, where we recently had our strategic plan open house. If you were unable to make it, but you want to stay updated on all of our strategic plan efforts, go to windsorgov.com/strategic plan. My name is Julia Bartman. I'm the Communications and Engagement Supervisor. And on behalf of Maddie, the communications team, and the town of Windsor, thanks for tuning in.